So are you that person? You know, the one everyone turns to in a crisis? The one who just holds it all together no matter what? From the outside, it looks like incredible strength. But what if that strength comes with a hidden cost? Let's dig into the psychology behind being the strong one.
We all know someone like this, right? We might work with them, we might be related to them, or just maybe that person is you.
This description probably hits pretty close to home for some of you. The calm in the crisis. Who picks up the slack even when they're running on empty? It's this constant performance of competence, because it feels like there's just way too much riding on you holding everything together.
Just take a second and really let that sink in. Is this the role you play in your family, with your friends, at your job? Because if it is, you should know there's a name for this pattern, and there's a very real reason it feels so completely exhausting.
Okay, so let's see how this familiar feeling actually builds into a defined psychological pattern. This isn't just, a personality trait. It's a learned behavior, and it often has some really deep roots.
So at its core, overfunctioning is really just a habit. It's that gut impulse to step in, to take over, to manage absolutely everything. But here's the thing. What starts out as being helpful can slowly, quietly morph into a habit of just erasing your own needs. And the roots of this, they often go way, way back to childhood.
And here we have it. This is basically the origin story for so many overfunctioners. It's called parentification. It's what happens when a child is forced to grow up way too fast, becoming a caretaker for their parents or their siblings. They learn from a very young age that their value, their worth, it comes from being responsible and competent.
So think about it. If you learn in childhood that you have to be the adult in the room, how does that affect the way you handle stress later on in life? Well, it fundamentally shapes the mental tools you reach for to deal with your own emotions. This slide really shows the divide, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the healthy, adaptive ways to deal with stress, things like acceptance or putting things in perspective. But on the other side, we've got the unhealthy or maladaptive strategies. And this is stuff like self-blame, catastrophizing, and rumination, which is when you get stuck in a loop, just dwelling on negative thoughts over and over again. So is there a direct link here? Does being that strong kid, that parentified child, actually lead to these really harmful mental habits when you're an adult? Well, researchers wanted to find out for sure. And boom, here is the answer. This number comes from a 2023 study, and it is a really big deal. In statistics, that R value tells you how strongly two things are linked. And a value of 0.614, that's a significant positive correlation. In plain English, it means the more a person was forced into a parental role as a kid, the more likely they were to rely on unhealthy coping mechanisms like self-blame and catastrophizing as an adult. The link is statistically undeniable. This reliance on unhealthy coping, it really starts to reveal the deep internal cost of all that external competence. The world might see you and applaud your strength, but it's taking a toll that nobody else can see. This gets right to the heart of it. It's not some surplus of strength that's driving this whole behavior. So often, it's fear. Fear of letting people down, fear of not being needed, fear that if you stop performing, you'll stop being worthy of love and connection. And that fear, it builds a trap. Your entire identity gets so tangled up in what you do for other people that your competence stops being a skill and starts becoming a cage. You feel like you have to be competent because you believe deep down that it's who you are. And being stuck in that cage, it comes with a heavy, hidden tax. It's that bone-deep exhaustion you call ambition. It's that profound loneliness because, everyone just assumes the strong one is always fine. It's that quiet resentment that starts to build toward the very people you're helping. And at the end of the day, it's just identity fatigue, the sheer weariness of always having to be on. You could describe this whole pattern as backwards living. You're constantly looking outside of yourself for your sense of worth. You're scanning faces for approval. You're checking everyone else's emotional temperature before you even think to check your own. Real freedom, real strength comes from flipping that script. So how do you break free from the cage? Well, it's not about becoming weak. It's about redefining what strength even means and finally allowing yourself to just be human. See, true strength isn't about having limitless capacity. It's about honoring your limits. It's having the courage to actually say the words,
I can't right now. It's having the trust to let someone else take the reins for a change. It's the wisdom to rest before you burn out. And maybe most importantly, it's shifting your focus from that endless to-do list to asking yourself, what do I need?
And this is why it matters so much. When you are constantly performing the role of the strong one, your connections can't ever be fully authentic. You're giving what you think people want from you, not who you truly are. Real connection requires vulnerability, not just competence. Look, that role you've played, it served a purpose. It absolutely helped you navigate some really difficult situations, and it got you to where you are today. But the strategies that help us survive aren't always the ones that help us thrive. So the real question now is, what would it actually look like to let go of the performance and just be your whole human self?